Ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of books you just don't have time to read?
Oh, tell me about it. My to-read pile is basically a fire hazard at this point.
Right. But what if you could just download the good stuff, like straight into your brain?
Okay, now you're talking. Sign me up for that Matrix-style download.
Well, that's what we're diving into today, this whole world of book summaries and this new podcast claiming to change the game entirely.
A new podcast, huh? Color me intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right, so get this right. Imagine like a podcast, but it's taking on like serious nonfiction.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean like full books. But they condense it all down. You get the good stuff, the really interesting parts, and it only takes like 10 minutes.
Really? 10 minutes. That's like the time it takes me to like make my coffee in the morning.
Exactly. So I found this, it is a podcast actually. It's called Books Deep Dive. And that's what they're doing. AI hosts a new episode every day, 10 minutes long, and each one tackles a different nonfiction book.
Oh, ambitious.
Right. Part of me is like, where do I sign up? You know, my to-read list is like out of control.
Oh, tell me about it. I've got a whole stack of books on my nightstand right now. It's intimidating, you know?
Totally. But then there's this other part of me that's wondering, like, can something that quick really deliver? You know, can you really get the goods from a whole book in 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Especially with all the like information overload we're dealing with these days. It's not even just the number of books out there. It's how much they pack into them, you know? They can be dense.
Right. And that's something they emphasize, actually, this idea of active learning. Like, they're claiming that listening to it back and forth is more engaging, that you'll remember more than, say, if you just read a summary.
Well, there's actually like real science to back that up. You know, studies show that when we're actively listening, our brains, they make stronger connections with the information. It's like, think of it like watching a tennis match versus actually playing. You just remember more. You feel it more when you're in the game.
Interesting. Okay, so they're using like brain science.
Yeah.
And they're also big on like entertainment, even humor is part of how they present this stuff, which isn't something you see every day, you know, learning and laughing.
I know, right? It's like, who says learning can't be fun? But it's smart, you know, because when you can work in like a good story, a little debate, even some jokes, it makes it stick. It's like that information embeds itself in your brain.
Right. Okay, but what about those books that are super complex, you know, with like really nuanced arguments, different perspectives, the kind of book that leaves you thinking for days after you finish it? Can a 10-minute AI podcast, even with all the bells and whistles, really do that justice?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Even with fancy algorithms, there's always a risk of making things too simple, you know? Missing out on the author's voice, those little details that make a book special.
So it's like, it could be a good starting point, this book's deep dive, but maybe a little healthy skepticism is a good thing?
Definitely. It's like, don't take it as gospel. Listen, enjoy, but also think critically.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe it'll inspire you to pick up the full book afterwards. Or maybe it'll be enough. Like, you get the main points and you're good.
Right. Either way, it's a tool, right? Just one more way to learn and explore.